This is Joe with Cloud First Labs. This video will show how to use FTP on MuleSoft's Anypoint Partner Manager for B2B EDI transactions. To demonstrate this, we are going to execute the following use case. We're going to set up a new trading partner, CoolCo, to use an FTP to place an X12-850 file, that's a purchase order EDI file, in an FTP location, and we are going to configure our partner manager flow to pick that up and convert it from the X12 format into JSON format and deliver that to our process API. The process API under the covers could deliver it to any target systems thanks to MuleSoft's API-led connectivity. In our case, this will be a simplified version that will just log the output, but just know that it could orchestrate it through to any systems that require the data. But anyway, this is the use case. CoolCo file to FTP location, partner manager processes it, passes it to a MuleSoft API. So how can we do this? We're going to start in partner manager, and we're going to come here to message flows and do new message flow, receive from partner. We are going to enter CoolCo as the name of our partner, and then we're going to set up some identifiers for this partner. We're going to start out with the reference ID. I'm going to call it CoolCo. And now that it's created this, I'm going to hop over here to the partner that was just created, and I'm going to add two new identifiers. I'm going to add an X12GS identifier of CoolCo. And likewise, because these are going to be used within the X12 EDI messages themselves, I'm going to do the X12GS and the X12 ISA qualifier. We're going to do ZZ for the qualifier type mutually defined. And once again, we're going to use CoolCo. Okay, so we've got that set up. Now we're going to hop back over here to the flow we had just started. We're going to receive from CoolCo. In this case, we're going to open this up. We need to select an endpoint in the message type. So let's do an endpoint. We want this to be FTP. So let's create a new one, FTP protocol. Now I just happen to have a website that I can use. I've got FTP set up for this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use that website. This can be any FTP location. In a real world case, it's gonna live at one organization or the other. In this case, it's gonna be our organization, Cloud First Labs. But then we set up a source path. So within this FTP location, I'm going to say CoolCo. We're going to pull every minute. We're going to look for EDI files, and we're going to look for anything named with .edi, archival path. Archival path, I'm going to go ahead and say /CoolCo/archive. So this is where files are going to be placed. The source file gets placed and then processed. And upon processing, it's going to archive that original source file. So it's going to put it in this /CoolCo/archive folder. And I hit save. And now we have that endpoint set up. Now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and open up an FTP client just to set this up. So here is that FTP location that I referenced. I'm going to go ahead and create the CoolCo folder, and within that, I'm going to create the archive folder. So we'll come back to this later when we test this out, to see it work in the real world. But I just wanted to get those folders created. And then for the source message, the message type we're going to use here, we're going to use this one ultimately, but I'll show how to do it from scratch. We're going to take an X12 version 4010 message type 850. That's a purchase order message. And I'm going to just use the standard X12 4010 850 message. Okay, and it's saying only one combination is allowed. So it's giving me this error only because I have previously created like that same message type. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and use that message type. So we set that up here. We could do trading partner specific settings here. I'm gonna leave them as is, but I am gonna configure this to send a functional acknowledgement. And where are we gonna send that to? I'm gonna send that to a new FTP location. And I'm gonna say the owner in this case is us, Cloud First Labs, so the receiver. And where functional X get placed for Coolco purchase orders. And then I'm gonna go back to that same FTP location, same credentials, and the target path I'm going to use in this case is going to be Coolco / X. And we see the file name pattern that it's going to use. Doc type, interchange, sender, date, time. I don't even know for sure. Control number, interchange control number, and I forget what the G is for GCN, but something control number. .edi. So we'll go ahead and click save. And now we have our receive portion set up. So we know how we're going to receive the incoming X12 message. Next, what we need to do is add a data weave map. Now, in this case, I'm just going to use a map that was already created. And in the article that corresponds with this video, there's going to be a link to the AnyPoint Exchange example where I'm going to pull this from. Actually, I'll go ahead. It will be linked in the article, but also I'll just show it here. MuleSoft has very kindly provided an X12 850 example transforming transforming to JSON. So we've got transform inbound EDI X12 850 transactions to purchase order JSON. This example has within it a data weave mapping file. In the real world, you're going to configure your own mapping, but and we've done previous videos on how to do that, both our AS2 Partner Manager video and also a previous X12 connector video show with a little bit more detail how to properly do a data weave mapping for this. But in this case, I'm just going to choose a file. It came right out of that that example, and so here we go. It's inbound PO NTO 4010 850 to enterprise PO JSON PO for purchase order. So we upload that. So this is what is going to be done. We're going to receive a message coming in, an X12 message, and it's going to come here to this transformation. It's going to be transformed by this data weave, and then we've got to deliver it to a target. Now, again, we've already set these up in some of these previous videos, so I'm going to reuse this JSON purchase order to message type. In this case, it's a very permissive message type. It's just got a JSON file, a JSON schema file that is an open and closed brace, so it allows anything, any valid JSON. You could, of course, define this to be required to be a very specific purchase order JSON schema, but just for simplicity's sake, for showing this, we've got it as a completely permissible schema. So that is the message type that we just selected, and now we've got to deliver this to an endpoint. Now I'm going to use this HTTPS inbound target one. We see here it's pointed at a Mule API and a sample endpoint. This is an example 200 API. So, again, this is set up for simplicity's sake. It's going to point at this this location, and I'll show what this would look like if we were doing it from scratch. You would enter a URL, you'd enter your authentication details. Again, in this case, I just did none to keep it bare bones simple. And I plugged in the API here. But since we already have that configured, I'm just going to use the existing one. And so this is this process API from this architecture diagram here. And this is what under the covers would deliver this to all the requisite systems, downstream. So, here we're passing it. So we're going from FTP into Partner Manager. Partner Manager handles this data transformation. It does this under the covers with some applications, Mule applications running in Runtime Manager or in Anypoint Platform, and we can see them in Runtime Manager. But that will, use this data weave, and then it will pass it on to this HTTPS target. So with that being the case, we can go ahead and deploy. This might take a few minutes. Oh, I'll add a note. Deploying 1, 2, 3. This will take a few minutes to deploy, and then I'll fast forward the video to when it is deployed, and then we'll see it in action and see it successfully process an X12 message and pass it on to this endpoint. We are back. We can see it is now in deployed status. I want to show one other quick thing that I did while it was deploying. I added an X folder to the Coolco folder on the FTP location. That way those 997 acknowledgements that we configured here have a folder to go into. So anyway, we are deployed now. So let's take a look at a sample file. And here's one. This is an 850 transaction, so a purchase order. And it's going from Coolco to Cloud First Labs. And we are going to go ahead and drop this in the FTP in the Coolco folder. So I'm going to drag that over here. So we see it, and within 1 minute, this should get picked up and it should get processed by Partner Manager, by this message flow. So let's come over here to activity. Okay, cool. It's been about a minute. I waited about a minute, so we fast forwarded here, but we see here we've got message delivered in delivered status from Coolco. So if we click into this, we're going to see that same message that we saw earlier. So we can see the source payload, and then after transformation, here's the target payload. So this is what was passed on to the process API. If we want to, we can actually come out here to Anypoint Platform, and let's go to Runtime Manager, and we'll just check that example 200 API. This is our process API, and look at the logs, and wouldn't you know it, here's that message. So from here, it's in MuleSoft world. We can orchestrate that. We can send this to any systems we need to. And one other thing to look at, if we refresh, we see that file is no longer in the FTP location. It is now in the archive location, and we have a 997 acknowledgement file. So this is trying to open. Let's see. Oh, here we go. View, edit Notepad++. And here we go. Here is that automatically generated 997 functional acknowledgement to let Coolco know that, hey, Cloud First Labs did receive that, that message that was sent. So that is how you can very easily configure an FTP setup for your business-to-business EDI transactions using Anypoint Partner Manager, using MuleSoft. It can be easily extended to use many trading partners, many message types, but this video gives a little taste of how easy, how straightforward that is. Thank you for your time.